Onto Haunter there. The rest of the Gravity team flashes through, but they're all slivers of health
Dyrus.
instantly in the beginning of the fight. Double lift, triple kill for Dyrus. Looking for the Penta. That's going to be a kill for Turtle. It could still be the Quadra. That's a dropping spider. Never going up the spout again. Quadra coming in for Dyrus.
It's just a Dyrus comp.
Yeah,
You kill everyone.
just Dyrus things.
Out of my way. No! Oh. Thank you. Gotta go.
Welcome, everybody, to MogTalk episode 182. Today we have a very special show. If you are unfamiliar with MogTalk, by the way, it's a show about the Final Fantasy XIV community where we discuss everything from Savage Raiding to Chocobo Racing. And we have a interesting guest on today, Mr. Dyrus, which a lot of people may already know. He's recently come into the Final Fantasy XIV community, streaming Shadowbringers and raiding. And today we're just going to kind of learn a little bit more about what he thinks of the game and overall him, I guess. So Dyrus, if you don't mind, if you could just kind of do your little spill in case people are ignorant and they're not aware of who you are, just let them know.
Hi, I'm Dyrus. I used to play League professionally. You could just Google Dyrus and you'll probably know. But yeah, I'm just another dude trying to play games and have fun.
Okay. No, that's short and sweet, man. One thing I want to ask you, people keep calling you Dyrone. Is that like a...
So where that stems from is that one of the very first sponsorship things I did was like a Red Baron pizza thing. And they like cropped my face into like a bald, like looking like a very I guess gangster looking, or
I gotcha.
and people are starting to say, "Oh, they've been working out with Dyrone," or whatever, and people started saying it because,
I gotcha.
yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. It sounds fine to me. It's just,
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
weird. I didn't know. And by the way, I have to apologize. I'm probably one of the ignorant people who aren't very aware of your adventures previous to Final Fantasy XIV. But so if I ask a question and you're like, why the fuck would this guy ask this question? He brought me on to interview me. He doesn't even do this proper research.
oh, don't worry
I
about it.
apologize. But I kind of want to introduce people who play Final Fantasy XIV to your experience kind of with MMOs and the genre itself. People use the term, I don't know if this is offensive or not, but they use the term weeb when they talk about you sometimes. Is that justified in any way at all?
I mean, people call everything. If you watch anime, you're a weeb. If you like
Okay.
anime, you're a weeb. I mean, the definition of weeb to me is someone who like is not from Japan,
Mhm.
but pretends to speak and understand Japanese
Okay.
and like starts Naruto running around,
Area
I think that's
51.
I think that's what an actual weeb is. But if you watch anime, people just say weeb. So it's kind of, I feel like it's more lighthearted
Yeah.
rather than an insult. So it's just like memes and yeah,
No, I
goes.
gotcha. I watch anime, so that makes me a weeb too. But when people talk about that, they also generalize the Final Fantasy, I guess, community around that same term as well. So would that correlate with your experience with Final Fantasy 14? Do you have not 14 in particular, but just Final Fantasy overall? Have you played a lot of Final Fantasy games?
I have played Final Fantasy VIII on the PlayStation 1 where you had 4 discs.
Yeah.
I've played 10 a little bit later when it came out. My friend let me borrow I think it was 12, but I didn't finish it because I didn't get into it. And then I played a little bit of 14. I got sponsored to play Final Fantasy 14 when I played League back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where it's like they'll pay me for every hour that I stream it, and I just have to like submit the link that it's like, oh, I streamed this much, and they would pay me for that. And this was back then when I I did the sponsorship twice, and I made two dragoons, and this was like when it was capped at 50, and when you had this thing called the heavy strike, I think you had like a flanking
Right.
attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I leveled one to level 16, and I leveled the second one to 31. And I didn't play much further than that because at the time I was just playing League. I didn't really have time for anything else, and I didn't really it felt slow paced to me because you're leveling. That's just how it is, right?
Absolutely.
And I did a lot of quests and side quests, and I just felt like leveling was just so slow because before that my MMO experience was like, I guess, Maple Story. I don't even know if you can call that an MMO.
You can, yeah.
I've played Rose Online, Ragnarok Online, Silk Road Online, Night Online, a couple of other free games if you could think of any free games. Like I've played a lot of MMOs
Mm-hmm.
where you just grind a lot.
Okay.
Uh,
Would you say that like, and I gotta ask just to make sure, was it 1.0 or Realm Reborn when you were playing?
I think it was Realm Reborn because I looked at the documentary, and that like there's a big difference between 1.0 and Realm
Yeah.
Reborn. So I'm pretty sure it was Realm Reborn.
Okay. It was just like a handful of years ago, right?
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6 years. It was really long ago. It must have just launched. That's probably why they
Mm-hmm.
they sponsored me to do it.
Yeah, it was kind of rough when Realm Reborn first came out too, because the servers were having issues, and it was hard to get people to stick to it after that. But I mean, right now, if anyone tried to level 1 to 50, even playing Shadowbringers, they'd probably not make it. I'd almost say. Did you buy a jump potion when you first started Shadowbringers?
No, I started from level 1 because I knew that because I boosted in Battle for Azeroth for WoW, and I was really lost. So I knew if I bought a boost, I would be extremely lost.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it normally. I went
Okay.
through the whole story. I endured post ARR. Uh, the biggest reason why I was able to endure it is I was planning on playing it off stream. I wasn't even going to stream Final Fantasy at all. But when I was playing Teamfight Tactics, my viewers are like, "Hey, you should stream this. Hey, you should stream this." And then there was a lot of interest for it at the start.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually enjoyed it because I was playing it with stream,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of funny reactions, and it's like my first time.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the other reason why I was able to endure it is because the Shiva fight kind of made me tear up because I played Final Fantasy VIII, and Shiva was my favorite Guardian Force to use, and I
Nice.
also used her a lot in 10 also
Mm-hmm.
because she has the Diamond Dust. So when she casted that, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. End game for Realm Reborn was actually really good with the primals and everything else. And that's pretty interesting because when you're leveling, I guess I'll ask you this: did you understand anything that was going on with the story at all?
Mm, I mean, I watched the cutscenes, I read through everything. I kind of understood.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was like whatever at first, and then
Yeah.
I started to get hooked when I started to have favorite characters, and then all my favorite characters died. So
What was
I
the?
start
Go ahead. Ice Heart.
yeah, I liked Iceheart, I liked Harchifont, and I liked I Americ,
Emmerich. He's not dead though.
Emmerich. Well, yeah, he didn't die, but I'm saying the other
Okay.
other two
Yeah, he's a pretty
died.
big badass.
So I liked him, and he was my favorite character, one of my favorite characters that stayed alive. And then in Stormblood, I liked Xenos as a villain.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought he was really cool. I didn't like the end of it, how it turned out, but I really liked him as a villain.
You didn't
And
like
then
him cutting his throat and just dying at the end. That was
at the end, I don't know. He was so in character, and he like fell apart at the end. I didn't like that. He
okay.
didn't stay. I mean, he's like kind of crazy, right?
Hmm.
But like, it could have been done differently, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And I only say that because I like him a lot. So
Okay. Well, I mean, now playing through Shadowbringers, obviously he's still around, right? So
yeah.
we'll be seeing a lot more of him. And Final Fantasy has this, and you'll notice this in a Realm Reborn. People, they'll kill people and then they're not really dead. Every once in a while, someone dies, but it was kind of interesting to see what they did to bring him back. I mean, coming into Shadowbringers, the story, most people say that's the only reason they really like the expansion, or at least that's the main reason they like it, is because how the story was told and everything. Would you agree with that going
I
through the
think
new one?
I think it was tied together really, really well. It went from I didn't really care at the start, and then I was like, oh, this is why this happened. Oh, that's why that happened. Doing Crystal Tower, I think,
Hmm.
also connected. And I also thought that I asked my chat, does a Crystal X-Start have cat ears? And no one actually spoiled it for me.
That's pretty awesome.
No one said it was him, and I was like, I think it's him, but I'm not sure, you know.
How recently did you do, or when you did Crystal Tower? How what was the time difference between doing that and going into Shadowbringers?
It was like around post ARR
Okay,
is
so
when I did it. I did it really early because my chat wanted me to do it.
well, I mean, like not expansion wise, but like, did you do it like 2 months before Shadowbringers came out, or did you do it like years before Shadowbringers came out?
Um, Shadowbringers was already out for like a month when I started
Oh,
playing.
really?
Yeah, I
Okay,
didn't for I mean, I've been playing this game for like 2 months now, maybe.
okay. That's yeah. So about like 3 weeks after it came out.
Yeah, because my friends were telling me how good it was, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll give it a try." You know, so
Yeah,
a lot of people were saying it's game of the year. This is the best shit ever. You have to play this. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll play it. I have nothing better to do.
yeah. They really knocked it out of the park with it, and I'm excited to see kind of what they do with it going forward. Because I mean, this kind of gives me. Did you play? You didn't play WoW at all, or did you play WoW?
I played a little bit of classic. I got to level 7, then I quit.
Okay. The original WoW, did you play it at all, or was it just classic?
I played a little bit of BFA, and I played a little bit of Burning Crusade
Mm-hmm.
with my girlfriend a long time ago, but I only got to like level 40, so I didn't really get to experience the end game. I just played a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But I experienced the end game for BFA,
All
which was
right.
fun for while it lasted.
Yeah. A lot of people compare this expansion to Wrath of the Lich King, which was the popular, I guess, peak of WoW. And then it kind of went downhill from there. But that's kind of what we're concerned too, is that we're at this peak now. Maybe we're going to start going downhill again. But
Mm, I feel like it'll like sustain because the way they told the story, they can literally do anything with it.
right.
And there's actually so much room for making it better than it already is. That's a really good sign if you can see that potential and they
Mm-hmm.
actually capitalize on it. Like just watching the video on the documentary how they brought it back. I guess it depends if they become lazy or not, but I think that with what they went through, I think we can expect it to be really good for a while
Mm-hmm.
until the people who made it really good like start to like tire out.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
what I think.
yeah. And the person who is in charge of the story right now is actually kind of newer to the team. So they'll probably have some energy going forward for quite a while. I hope, at least. Because
My
she. Go ahead.
my problem with the story and stuff is like there's sometimes there's no voices for some parts. And I feel like if they like went back and like voiced some parts, it would be really, really good.
Hmm. I agree. All right. So overall, the story and the game itself, that whole experience leveling up in the last 2 months has been pretty good for you, you would say?
Um, yeah, so I guess my experience was I leveled from 1 to 80. I was playing I leveled 1 to 60 as white mage and then I switched to gunbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I did white mage is because I was told that it was good and that healer queues are great
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it. Healing was stressful at first and I got used to it. Then I switched to tank and I was like, Final Fantasy VIII, Gunbreaker, like this is my class.
Yeah.
So I played Gunbreaker to 80. Now my white mage is like 71. And once I got to the end game raids, that's when controversial stuff started to happen. Like people giving me free stuff, I wouldn't accept it.
Mm-hmm.
I would just go into Party Finder for Savage or Party Finder for Innocence and Party Finder for Titania.
Mm-hmm.
And people didn't care at first. But there's people that offered me gear, Pentamilda gear, and I didn't accept it at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Savage, like when I stream it, like people are gonna try and stream snipe me, right? Like try to help me
Yeah.
clear
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm just sitting there like trying to do it. And I'm like new to the rating part. I'm new to a lot of mechanics. I didn't experience set the 70, 60, or 50 like end game rating mechanics. I didn't know what flares were. I didn't know what tank swapping was. Like I didn't know anything. I was really uncomfortable too because Gunbreaker has a lot of
Yeah.
abilities, a lot of double weaving, a lot of just I didn't know Neural Mercy was a 20-second cooldown until like 3 weeks later. I always thought it was 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that would be like, "Oh, you're getting carried. Oh, you're so bad." And I'm just like, "Dude, it's my first week. What the fuck do you want from me?" And I clear. I'm like, yes, we did it. And it's like, oh, dude, you just got carried. Oh, you got carried through E1. Oh, you got carried through E2. You got carried through E3. And I'm just like, all right, if people are gonna say I get carried anyways, then I might as well accept the gear because I'm already stressed out trying to clear it. I'm using every brain cell in my being, and I'm just like, I wanted to uninstall the game. I really
Uh,
want to uninstall the game because of how much controversy. Like some guy made a Reddit post where it's like, oh, I didn't use gnashing for 20 seconds and I quadra-weaved the spell. Like, yeah, that's bad, but it was like my first week.
yeah.
So that same person also said go back to League, but it's funny because that person who made the thread was also a League player. So I was just like, what? There's so many dumb people. And it was
Mm-hmm.
really upsetting for me because I was enjoying it a lot and
Mm-hmm.
I was pissed off. So just as I was deciding whether I wanted to keep streaming the game or not, because I initially played the game to play with my friends, but half of them flaked out, so I didn't get the static. And then I moved to Aether, and then I didn't get the static for my friends on Aether, and it was like a secondary stack. So I just have like one friend in my static that
Mm-hmm.
I actually wanted to play with. So one guy on Primal, I think his name was like Dark Prodigy or something. He gave me like full pentamelded gear, and I was just like, holy shit. Now I can't quit. Now I can't quit.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I was struggling with E3 at the time. It was like my second week.
Mm-hmm.
The first week I got like a page run for it. I actually got carried for the first week on E3. That was the only one I actually got carried on. But the second week I was still learning it and I got my 2 chests on it late in the week. So with the Pentamelda gear, I was just like, all right, I can't quit. I can't quit. This guy gave me fucking legit gear. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna quit for him.
Right.
And then so I kept playing and I just kept playing normally. I eventually cleared E4
Mm-hmm.
after lots of deaths and you have the clips of the intro where it's like I dash into Leviathan and
Yeah.
Titan. I had a lot of deaths.
Well, I
So
mean, that's
now I'm at,
everyone.
yeah, yeah. But I don't regret my time put into the game. So I had
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I was going to lead into a lot of questions I had about that too, because people are stupid. assholes who are jealous and they're envious of certain things, and so like they're gonna see they're like, oh well, people who know how to clear it's gonna of course join with him and clear it. I had an easier time than I did with my people who didn't know anything about the fight. Of course, I mean, what do they want you to do? Just hide and make a secret character and just not stream it and play and burn all your time?
My biggest pet peeve, and it's just like when people are like, this guy was a pro league player. Haha, this guy sucks at this game. It's just like it's not the same game, you know.
No.
That pisses me off the most. I hate that. I hate that. I go into any other game and they expect me to play it like near pro level or learn extremely fast, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just trying to enjoy the game.
Right. No.
But anyways, I don't want to complain about it too much because I know it's just
No.
complaining.
And
Yeah.
no, and it's fine. I mean, it's something that's important to talk about overall because a lot of people get that. Streamers, if they stream, oh, well, it's because she's a girl on stream and people want to go and get attention from her, so they're going to go help clear the content for her, and she gets carried through all her content, even though she's trying to do everything on her own and learn. I mean, you're still working hard to figure out the
Yeah.
fight and everything. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different. So,
Yeah, the streamers themselves don't choose for people to come in.
right.
It's out of their control. You can't get mad at them for that.
Yeah, they're like, so you before you stream, you message 7 people. Okay, you guys have cleared all the hardest content in the world. You know exactly what to do. Just join my group and we'll
Yeah.
clear it, right? No.
Yeah. The only help I got was from my friend who was also new, and we were learning together, and we were in comms together, so we were able to do stuff more efficiently because we're in comms. And he was like really good at WoW, so even though he didn't know about Final Fantasy, he also learned fast. And I would main tank, off tank, and we cleared E1 and E2 because of that. But then he went to WoW for E3, so yeah.
Yeah.
His
Well,
internet was bad too, so
well, if it makes you feel better, anyone that I actually kind of talk to and respect at all, they say that you're absolutely amazing with how quickly you learn to clear the content and do it for playing for 2 months. And so I did talk to some people that was in your raid group too, and they were saying, yeah, you're just like a sponge. You just go in there and knock it out. But I mean, part of trying to clear the content's dying. But go ahead, let's talk a little bit more about the raids, but in a different perspective here. Just the quality of the raid itself, and kind of doing that kind of content, going in there, learning it and everything. Do you feel like it was developed pretty well and it was enjoyable to learn it and clear it?
yeah, it's enjoyable and stressful at the same time. Because when you finally get it, you're just like, okay, nice, I know this. But at the same time, it's like when you do get it and someone else messes up, you're just like, okay, I guess I'll just try to optimize until they get it right.
Yeah.
A good example of that is I boosted a black mage on Aether, and I didn't know how bad playing black mage was until I did it. It's like, oh, I have to predict the whole fight and be ready. Like, it's not as hard as summoner apparently, but it's still like for someone who went from tanking, running around everywhere, struggling with the mechanics to casting and being prepared is completely different.
Yeah, it's learning a different side of the fight, really, because everybody has their own responsibilities in there. I personally tank myself. I do paladin on pretty much all the fights. And for example, if I go back and I do E3S now, like learning the puzzle and everything for it, it was that would be interesting. But if you already know the fight and everything else, like you get to the last part where everybody's trying to do the black smokers part, and you're just AFK, kind of on the edge, just waiting.
I've done that part, and I don't understand why people keep messing it up. I was in a group where they messed it up like 13 times, and I was just like, what the hell? Why? Dude, this must be really hard. I went in as DPS. I'm like, I did it first try. I'm just like, what? Why does everyone keep messing this up? You just drop 4 puddles and go to your puddle. Like,
right.
what?
It happens sometimes, man. Like stuff that I guess people get into the fight, and they just get overwhelmed with the pressure and the stress at that point, and they just freak out, or they're bad. I don't know.
I mean, I understand messing it up. It's just if you don't understand it, you look at a guide or ask the people in your group instead of just like being like, all right, let's do it again. Let's go die again. Like, are you gonna adapt? Are you gonna learn, or are you
Right.
just gonna keep trapping us here, wasting my time? Speaking of which,
Mhm.
that same person who made Thread, so I learned about Act for the first time because
ACT,
of
yeah.
Endgame. Yeah, so there's a scholar in my or an astro in my party who was doing like 5 or 1.5k DPS,
Hmm.
and no one was dying, and I was like, all right, we reached enrage. I have to kick this guy because we're not going to clear with him. And then he whispered me, "Did you kick me because of my damage?" I just didn't say anything.
Right. It's a funny situation because Square Enix doesn't encourage third party programs at all, but of course they kind of turn a blind eye, right? As long as you don't talk about it in the chat in game, they're not going to do anything about it anyways. But
You need it to progress in Party Finder. Like someone doesn't know how to press their damage spells,
mhm.
like at least I don't know, a little bit more than zero point 0.5 or 1.5. I learned that healers also do damage too. When there's people out there that say, my job is to only heal without doing damage when people are full HP, and they strongly argue that point without having an open mind to doing damage when people are full, is just like, it makes me very upset.
Yeah, that's actually part of. There's a we had a show on this not too long ago about people who are casually, toxic in their own way. They play and they're like, I don't have to do more. You should, I don't want to, so I don't have to. I pay my subscription, and if we don't clear it, of course, you guys could have done something more too. And they come in with a lazy mentality, and then get mad at people for calling them out for being lazy.
We're doing hard content. Like, you didn't come here to waste everyone's time.
Right.
You get carried. Like, I try to like pull my weight as best as I can, and now I actually can pull my weight in Savage
Yeah.
and actually like call out every mechanic if I needed to.
Yeah. So I mean, you go back to these fights as well, and you do them multiple times, right? It's not like I clear it for the week and then I'm done.
Mhm.
What? How do you? Is it actually enjoyable to kind of go back and do that and just do the fight over and over again, or are you getting kind of bored of it?
Um, it's nice for the first couple of times because it's like, oh, I can do this differently now. I can do this. I can think about optimizing instead of actually trying to just survive the fight. So
Hmm.
you just think of ways to do more damage, and I've watched other streamers play where they like greed in certain ways, like Arthars or Xeno,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh, I can do this too, which is great because they both play Gunbreaker
Yeah.
and Warrior, so it's like, oh, I'm playing these classes too. I can copy what they do. A lot of the things I do for greed is because I've seen them do it.
Yeah. I've had Zeno and Arthas on the show multiple times and talked to them a bunch. They're great guys, and they push it pretty hard.
Oh, the one thing I want to talk about for Party Finders, I didn't
Sure.
understand descriptions, right? When
Okay.
people say practice run or clear run or one chest, zero chest, two chest, people can't read. There's no guide anywhere for like reading that. And I know it's like common sense, but on the week that I got carried for the page run, I'm like, oh, I have duty complete. I can just join a duty complete party and just play to clear.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand Tsunami 1 mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand. I understood the Tsunami 2, but
Mm-hmm.
only a specific strategy. But the other person was tanking buff cones. So I didn't understand the debuffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I didn't really understand.
Yeah. When I'm gonna be honest, I see some party finders up there, and you can see some stuff in there. Of course, it makes sense, but then they'll start putting abbreviations for a whole bunch of stuff for the strategy, and you're like, all right. And half of it doesn't apply to you as a tank, really, too, because it's like, where are they standing? But that doesn't mean anything for you. You just stand north. Again, if I go back to E3S, it's after you clear it that first time as a tank, it feels like the easiest fight this tier. E1S, you have to do more work as a tank, I think. E2S, you do, and then definitely E4S.
I think the biggest thing about E3S is
Mm-hmm.
as a tank, you need to make sure your aggro is proper because all the times that I've played, it was off tank, and I would just keep tank stance on, put all my damage into it, and the other tank would still hold aggro because one, I had worse equipment and I was a worse player, so the aggro would never come to me unless I provoked. And once I started getting better and the aggro started to juggle, and I was like, oh, what the hell? This never happened before. And those people thought I was trolling, but it's like I wasn't trolling. I just started doing more damage, so I have to like actually change my tank stance, use shirk and provoke more
Yeah.
properly. Like I didn't realize that. So I had learned more about tank aggro.
Yeah, both tanks just have to kind of balance that provoke and shirk, and if they're both on the same page with how they're going to do it, it usually works out. But that's one of the learning curves with kind of understanding the fight and when to provoke and when to shirk and everything else. Some of the fights, well, E3S, if you're not using invulnerabilities and everything, you have to do it at the exact right time, and they need to shirk right after you provoke so you get that second hit within like a couple second window. And it's after you get it though, it's in your mind and you just never forget. It's like riding a bike.
Yeah. I click on my tank stance still.
I click on a lot more than just my tank stance. I'm a horrible player, but when one other aspect to all this too is that I noticed that you were starting to do some raid leading as well, right?
Yeah, I wanted to experience raid leading, so I made a warrior because my friend was playing Dark Knight. So I was like, oh, I asked chat, what should I play? Dark Knight. They said Dark Knight or Warrior. I'm like, oh great, Warrior's a main tank, and Warrior is like one of the easier tanks. So it's
Right.
like, oh, I can focus on calling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed it for a little bit at first, but after a while, like when you fail, it's like I start to stress out, and I'm just like, oh God, get me. I did because I've never raid leaded or shot called before, so I just wanted to experience that. And I had a lot of fun, but honestly, if I had a choice, I would rather just be an off tank or
Mm-hmm.
not call.
I
The
did.
the weird
Go ahead.
the weird thing is so some people in the raid would kind of rely on some of the calls in autopilot as they're learning the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I was like, all right, I'm just not gonna call for these parts. And then they started playing better. And I was like, why am I even making calls for, you know? I
Yeah.
almost it just felt like I put all this effort into call and I'm losing DPS because I'm focusing on calling the mechanic and doing it right. And they just play better without it. I'm just like, oh, okay. I guess I could just focus on my DPS now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I did raid leading for about 2 to 3 years with a group of very casual players that would log in and raid log, and that's it. And so it was kind of difficult because it's always like herding cats and trying to make sure that everybody is there, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, they're learning what they should learn. And it gets old. I stopped doing it probably about a year ago or so, and I just go into party finders now and don't talk, don't get in Discord, don't do anything, and I just do my part. And the group does well or it doesn't do well, and I just join the next group if I need to. It feels so much more relaxed because I don't feel like people are depending on me in any way. I think that's what a lot of the stress comes from raid leading, at least.
I actually just end up making my own party and kicking people.
Yeah, that's what a
But
lot. Good.
but I give people like a fair amount of chances, so I'm not
You're
that
not,
toxic.
like not like, oh, they made one mistake, we wiped. All right, you're out of the party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not the guy who's like, oh, my healer did 3K instead of 5K when everyone died like 5 times. This guy doesn't do enough damage. I gotta kick him. But
Mm-hmm.
no, it's like he has to heal all the people that are messing up. So
Yeah.
I have a decent understanding for that.
Yeah, and nowadays a lot of people use ACT triggers anyways to kind of call out the mechanics for them. I don't like it and I don't use it, but I know it kind of takes away that need for a raid leader even calling out stuff. So, um,
I
the
don't
go ahead.
I don't care if people use it, but I'm not gonna use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the same. Like there is a program called Deadly Boss Mobs or mods in WoW, and
I
basic
use yeah.
it was required
Eh,
to use. If you didn't use it, they kicked you out of a group, and I couldn't stand it. Okay, so the one thing you're working on right now is going through and having your first experience with Ultimate. Um, how are you taking to it? Are you enjoying that fight at all?
The first time I experienced it, I got viewers to join up. There was no voice. We died to twisters like maybe like 50 times. And I learned the first phase. And then we got to the second phase, and I didn't know any of the quotes. I didn't know about the dooms. I didn't know about the thunder. And I'm just like, all right, well, no more ultimate for a long time. And then one of my longtime subs and mods said he could get a group together. So now I have like a group together where they're all actually really fucking good players, and uh I think they've only messed up like maybe 5 times out of like 30 pools.
Yeah,
And I
Miyuni's in that group, isn't he? One of the healers, Miyuni.
I think so.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so they're all experienced players, so literally all I have to do is learn from my mistakes so they don't have to lose hair from me dying.
Hmm.
Because I won't die to the same mechanic more than 5 times, I want to say,
Hmm.
especially if it's early. I want to make sure I don't die to the mechanic I should already know, so it can actually progress and make them feel like, oh, nice, we're progressing. They can optimize damage a little more.
Hmm.
But they're like actually like hard carrying right now, so I'm still learning the fight. We've reached the part where we got to the start of ad phase, but I messed something up and killed the whole group with a tower or something. So I'm like slowly understanding it.
Yeah.
But it's been fun even though I've died a lot.
That's so that fight is one of the first ones in a long time in the game. That was really difficult. That took like more than a week to clear. Um, and the reason I brought Miyuni's name up is because he's one of those world first raiders that like clears it as soon as possible, 16-hour days and stuff like that. And there's a handful of those out there that I talked to, and that's like the pinnacle of fights in Final Fantasy 14. So the fight you're doing right now is the fight.
Mhm.
And we're gonna see what, because we're gonna have another ultimate. I think in, we're guessing maybe a month or two.
Mhm.
That we're all gonna compare to that fight. So that's the next big content. But after that, the game's gonna kind of maybe be in this small lull where there's not a lot of in-game rating and stuff. We are going into PvP though. They're gonna start doing a lot of changes with PvP, and it feels kind of weird discussing PvP with Final Fantasy XIV with you because it's nowhere near the caliber of PvP that you're probably used to. But you have tried it a few times, right?
I've played it a lot. I have my Garo gear and Garo title for
Okay.
Ninja and Warrior. Um, so my PvP experience at MMOs was only like WoW Arena and
Mm-hmm.
maybe like some bigger scaled PvP from other MMOs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not really the big PvP person when it comes to MMOs, but
Mm-hmm.
I can tell when something's like good or bad. So my first experience was Rival Wings. It was
Yeah.
like the MMO version or the MOBA version, and I liked it. But what I didn't like was when people got into these big machines and I couldn't kill them. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like how the machines were like big power plays. It just didn't feel good if you're not in a machine, or even if you are in a machine, you're just killing people that aren't in the machine. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's like, I think that's a bad mechanic
Yeah.
personally.
It's a big, just huge cluster of people doing various things and trying to get just different objectives and everything. It's not meant, I don't think, so much for you to go out and kill other people. I mean, yeah, every once in a while you want to go kill somebody and kind of take over a point or something, but it's a lot of people love it or hate it.
Yeah, it's like a battlefield kind of thing
Hmm.
where you got vehicles and stuff, and I mean, I get that, but I don't think it's meant for that mode,
Okay.
honestly. I think if you're going to be collecting and stuff, there should be like something else, not like this big super mech. But that's my opinion.
Hmm.
The the mode I experienced next was Frontline, and I had fun with it. And as I played it more, I realized that you're gonna get people that are really dumb and run into like 20 people. And you're
Yeah.
also gonna get people that are AFK and just run their mount into other people just to make the game go faster. And that kills it for me. When people go AFK or do stuff like that, those people need to be punished.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried Feast. And at first I got destroyed because I had no idea what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned all the skills. And after I learned all the skills, I was like, man, there could probably be more skills. So I think they could add more skills for PvP
Mm-hmm.
because people are like level 80 and stuff, and they're used to having more skills. So it's kind of a meme. It's kind of like a PvP feels like it's a training wheels thing. Like it has like all the elements you need in PvP, but there could just be more.
Right.
It could be more complex than it already is. There's like potential. They have abilities at 80 and all that, but for balancing it, I wouldn't know. I'm just saying how I feel.
Yeah, and just to give you a little bit of background, I am a pretty big PvP person in the community for Final, or not, I'm not a big person. Sorry, I meant to say I'm pretty big into Final Fantasy 14, and I try to involve myself with the PvP side a good bit. For example, like I've done some shoutcasting for it, and I've done various other things on feast matches. And so I've heard all the opinions of the community for quite a long time. And the recent change, I think that was maybe a couple of years ago. I'd say recent, a couple of years. But they changed and they made it simpler. They added just a handful of buttons so people could get in there, and it was easier to get in and understand it. Because before, it was just everybody had all the abilities they had in PvE, plus a handful of more abilities. But they didn't really balance it for PvP as much. So it was just all out of whack, and people just kind of trying to find little things that worked out. I have talked to Yoshida about it, and he is going to increase the abilities a good bit in 5.1, and so it's going to be a whole different game, I think, in the next couple of months. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go, but like you said, it feels pretty simple right now. It needs more room to grow.
Yeah, like tanks can out DPS sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and they're tanks.
Do you, yeah, do you like the idea of having it role based where you have a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS, or a range and a melee? Actually,
Um, I don't think it's bad, but it would be interesting to see other combinations. I
mm-hmm.
mean, I guess if you could choose, then I guess most people would just pick like a bunch of healers because they're kind of. If you've ever 1v1 to healer, like you don't
Yeah,
win.
it's just you wait till the timer runs out.
Yeah, or unless you get limit break. I think limit break for DPS is the most impactful, and that's good. That gives them more purpose. Um, but limit break for tanks is like sad. Limit break for healers is like, oh, it makes sense. It's okay.
Yeah. They're both supposed to stop the burst because a feast is all about like getting that everyone coming together and doing as much damage as possible to one person, right?
Yeah.
And so it's someone has to predict it and use the limit break to counter it or something of that nature. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see how it's evolved. But right now, what you're playing, I feel bad because this is pending. This is like the kind of, well, it's just going to be stationary until we're done with this patch cycle and we got all the raid stuff out and everything else. So
I'm still enjoying it. It's just not a main activity
yeah.
worthy for me right now.
You just said pretty much the same statement I think 99% of the Final Fantasy 14 community says. It's fun, but not something that I would want to do as a main activity.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay. So I did want to ask a little bit more about Rival Wings. Did you feel at all like it took any good essence from MOBA, or was it just like, oh, they put an ad so now they can say they took the essence of MOBA out?
Well, you don't last hit minions, which is, or do you?
No.
Okay, you don't last hit minions, and even if you did, there's like 40 people attacking the same mob. So, I mean, there's no EXP, you don't progressively get stronger. There's too many people. It's like So the abilities are like simplified compared to PvE, right?
Hmm.
But there's like I think it's like what 25 versus 25 or is it 20 versus 20?
Oh God, I'm gonna look bad. I think it's 20 versus 20.
Yeah, I think it's 20 versus 20. So there's like a lot of people. So there's
No,
no
40
leveling.
versus 40. I don't know. Sorry, it's been a long time for me since I did it.
It's it's like there it would be interesting if they tried having where they don't have as much abilities at first and like the people that do good have more and actually like do more stuff around the map. You don't get rewarded for playing good basically.
Hmm.
Like individual the what MOBAs are about is that there's like carry roles, right?
Hmm.
And support roles. And like even though it's like a MOBA based, battle, there's not really MOBA based like things. You don't get to buy equipment, you don't get to buy consumables. Like they could make it interesting, like they could just take out like Warcraft 3 custom map elements and add it to it, and it might be like interesting. There's a potential for it.
Hmm.
It's not. And even if they did do that, it would be really complicated and hard to balance, but if they did balance it, it
Yeah.
might actually be really fun. The
Okay.
hard part is finding the balance between that because you don't want one side hard stomping too much. Like it's good to have comeback mechanics. Like even if you die, there you should still be able to feel like, oh, if I do this, like there's still a path to victory if they mess up.
Right. But it shouldn't be like super easy. Like, well, we just wait till the end to do the comeback mechanic and win. Right.
Yeah, I guess a good example of that is in League. I mean, I guess the better the players are, is the harder it is to come back.
Hmm.
Like sometimes plays are decided in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Like even if you're behind or you slowly get choked out. In Dota, it's like there's team fights and then they have buybacks. I've died like 10 times in Dota and that person could still like get farmed and get carried. It's just having different roles. So like maybe DPS and Final Fantasy could be like maybe weak early on, but then get really strong later and tanks get I don't know. It's like that's a whole different realm of possibilities and stuff. And I could sit here and talk all day about it, but
Right.
I don't know.
I gotcha. No, I appreciate the opinion either way. Um, all right. So I guess we did talk a little bit about you streaming Final Fantasy 14 and everything else. I kind of want to ask because you've experienced a lot of different communities for your Twitch. How is the Final Fantasy 14 community overall? We did talk about some negative stuff, but I mean, is that what it is mostly, or is it mostly positive?
Leveling up through the expansion, I had a lot of funny things, a lot of lulls. Like people are like, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
There's some people that posted spoilers, but I didn't really pay attention to it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, no matter what you do, if you do play a story game or anything like that, someone's gonna be try to spoil. There's just people out there like that just like making other people's lives miserable, I guess. So it was mostly positive throughout the leveling process. It's got a little bit toxic towards the harder raids because people are getting jealous that I was getting clears when they weren't because I was getting carried a little
Hmm.
bit
Yeah.
or getting carried hard on some parts, but a little bit on others, and there's that negative side. But every community has stuff like that, so it's whatever.
Hmm.
There's a lot of nice people who offered me stuff. There's people who gave advice in chat. There's people who are having fun themselves. So I feel like my overall experience was mostly positive, but at the same time, it's like once I got to the end game and people experienced it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go try these other classes, you know. Oh, what if I played ninja? Oh, what if I healed savage for the first time, you know? I felt like once people experience the content, like a lot of people were like, all right, I'm kind of bored of it. And
Hmm.
I'm not the most engaging streamer when it comes to this stuff. I'm more of a I either react or just like it is what it is. And if I'm bored, then I'm gonna be bored. I can't like force myself to be funny all the time or entertaining all the time because I'm mostly lazy. So I
Okay.
noticed like a lot of people like they say they want me to do one thing, but then it became less wanted later, if that makes sense, because
Absolutely.
they're just waiting for the next patch basically, and that is discouraging to me, but I also understand it.
Hmm.
So it makes me want to decide, like it's also based on the community. It makes me want to decide whether I should play it off stream or if I should just like only do certain things on stream. It makes me think about all that stuff.
Well, I do hear the mentality of if you're gonna play it, you might as well stream it, right? Because every time you're playing a game and you're not streaming it, it's some people see that as wasted time.
Mhm.
I don't know if you share that opinion or not.
Yeah, I've had that opinion for a long time, but the community I come from, it's like you hear like many different things like, oh, I'm gonna support you at whatever you do no matter what, and then there's a people like, oh, you don't play my game, you're dead to me. Or they'll just spam, play my game, oh, you're dead to me if you don't play my game.
Right.
So there's like different people out there, and it's just I would prefer it if people were just more honest with themselves, I guess, but that's just how it is.
No, I gotcha.
But anyways, overall positive experience.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, overall.
The Final Fantasy community on Twitch is kind of interesting because it has really two sides. It's lots of people who like kind of casual community where we're all friends and we all talk about things and we're positive, and then it also has this other side that's kind of like hardcore, crazy, always rating, always pushing numbers, and always uh trying to be the best in some way or better themselves. And then kind of have fun with like, oh well, we're doing this. Oh well, this guy died. What an idiot! Kind of show. Then there's just a handful of gray in between it. So it's strange. And Final Fantasy 14 has never been like a really popular game to stream. I think that's just with MMOs in general. Uh, MMOs, except for like, I guess when we're talking about WoW Classic and everything else with a couple of really popular streamers, but MMOs aren't really. I don't.
Just chatting section.
Yeah, right. Just chatting. That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like a lot of people who stream it turns into just chatting. But that's okay. It's just we don't see people come play Final Fantasy 14 and stay. They usually come, they play Final Fantasy 14, and then head on to something else because there are other games out there that are better to stream, and there's other games out there that are maybe even more fun to them, and so it looks like a more entertaining stream overall. And playing an MMO isn't always about screaming and having fun and doing everything else 24/7, right?
Yeah. I think I feel like the streaming side has to like be really community driven, and like the streamer has to entertain really well, like even with reactions or just becomes just chatting. Like I guess a good example is that so I watch Arthur stream a lot
Mm-hmm.
since I started playing, and he has a green screen, he does this cutscene thing, and he always has stories to tell. He's a good player. He's always like reasonable. He's funny. He tells jokes. Like he has interactions with his wife that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like I watch him and I'm just like, wow, he really does a really amazing job on his stream, and I genuinely have fun watching him.
Mm-hmm.
But even despite all that, like I feel like he deserves way more than he gets.
Right.
And that's also partially to people being in the section and people staying and being interested in stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if he goes off and plays a different game, then, there's people are gonna beat him like, why aren't you playing Final Fantasy 14? But there's also gonna be people who are like love watching him no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the everyday struggle for streamers that want to play more than one game, because there's always people that just want you to play one game and you're not allowed to play any other game. Only this game exists to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I get it because it's like watching their favorite TV show, but it's like it's just an everyday struggle
Yeah.
to build that variety.
And I'll say this just because I've known Arthas for years. I've had him on. He's translated for me a few times. He's or actually he's translated for me once, and then he's been on here. And when he gets talking, he'll talk for 20, 30 minutes straight. And then it becomes kind of a weird podcast because it's really the Arthas show and everything else. But it's still entertaining. Is the thing. It's still entertaining.
That's all that matters, really.
Yeah. And I love him. He's one of my favorite guests, and I owe a lot to him. I'm saying that I know Arthas, you're out there, so I hope your ego's feeling good right now. Okay, so streaming Final Fantasy 14 and everything, we talked about that probably a pretty good bit. And I'm kind of curious a little bit more about you and your being on Twitch and everything else, because it almost seems like you like to kind of just jump around to whatever you're really interested in at that moment, right?
Yeah, I'm at the point in my life where I've made enough money, and it's just like I'm just gonna play what I have fun with because I was getting really depressed only playing League. Like was getting YouTube content out for it. I still kind of try to get some YouTube content out for it, so my editors have a extra job to make money, and my managers have more of a job. But I'm like slowly going down to the point where it's like I don't even care anymore. I'm like good for life. I just want to play stuff that I have fun, and I'm just trying to find the balance because like I could make a shit ton of money, but then not be happy. So what happened for me in League is I played it so much, and when the when Riot was making certain changes to the game, like when games make bad patches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you tell them and they know, they accept the feedback, but then the person that you tell doesn't have control over it. It's just like I've played this game for 9 years and you brought back a change that was bad before, and they just keep doing it. It's just like constantly abusing the players that have played it for a long time. It's just like, oh, I don't have that much fun anymore, but it's like my job. So what happened was they made 3 big changes. One was you could like there's 5 roles in League, right? There's
Right.
jungle, top, middle, bottom, support. Um, what would happen is the jungle would the top laner instead. It's like imagine if your tank
Mm-hmm.
was playing a healer, but got tanky as a tank and could heal themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were healing. Let's say they're tanking and healing, right?
Mm.
And so the jungler would pick like a carry and just literally lane top and jungle, and they would just funnel all the gold to this one guy. I could play the game perfectly and still lose because this person would hit their power spike and they would just kill everyone. It didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter if the person I was laying against sucked. They just fed all of their gold to that person, and I would just lose because of it. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just so brain dead and it just killed me. The Another change they made was they had an item that made a minion really strong and could win you the game if you got like a big objective. And it was just so brain dead that all 10 people in the game bought this item. It was just so mind-blowingly dumb. So I got depressed from that, and every time I lost I would get depressed, and then I just decided, I thought for a long time, I was like, all right, I need to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And I quit in a very bad way. Cause I told people to fuck off. People gave me death threats because I wasn't playing League anymore. I made 3 videos saying, "Hey guys, I'm not playing anymore." People would still, even to this day, people still ask me, "Hey, do you still play League?" Hey, it's like
Fuck.
3 years later, and it's just, it's just like it. I guess that's just how it is, you know.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean that sounds
yeah.
horrible. I could never be. I couldn't. I don't think a lot of people could really imagine the shoes that you're in with that. They can just kind of maybe try to, but they can't actually see all this shit that you got to deal with. And
Yeah, but a long story short, I yeah, I'm just trying to play like have fun with. And I'm waiting for that game to hook me. I'm waiting for a game that hooks me so hard, like that I can just play it for 14 hours a day and like not have to like play anything else
Yeah.
and get really good at it. I'm just waiting for that.
It's hard, man. It's hard to find that because that lasts for so long, and then if the community dies off on that, then it like kind of you need something there to kind of support what you're enjoying too. Because you could love the hell out of a game, but if there's no one to play with, then yeah.
I can't get good at games unless I like them.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, to kind of go into, we're doing pretty good here. We're going to talk a little bit about maybe a future with Dyrus and everything else. And I guess we talked about it a little bit already. Now that you've spent a good amount of time with Final Fantasy 14, I guess it's a good question to ask. Are you happy with Final Fantasy 14 overall with everything that you've tried? Are you if you had to like rate it out of 10, what would you rate Final Fantasy 14 right now?
Um, Probably like a low 8 out of 10
Okay.
because the story is great. Shadowbringers is the best thing to happen to the game because it brings everything together and I feel like it can get better. But obviously with 1 to 50 and post ARR being there and
Mm-hmm.
all the history and stuff, there's still a lot of stuff to fix still.
Right.
So it's a game that I enjoy that has potential. Um, it's good.
Okay.
I don't regret playing it. I guess how I feel about right now is I do a weekly thing and then it's like do whatever
Mm-hmm.
or level a different class. But I don't always feel motivated to level a different class because
It.
I'm doing a content that I've done before on a different class.
Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of like
No, I
back
I
and forth.
understand. I mean, after you get to that point and you experience most things, there's not really too much to do. You kind of have to think about things that you want to do. It's not like ready and available for you. And if I had to give anyone advice, I don't know if it means anything, is if you're ever bored in Final Fantasy 14, just play something else and then come back because you don't want to burn yourself, right? You don't want to play something and then play it so much that you start to have a disdain towards it because you're forcing yourself to play it.
Yeah, my suggestion when I tell other people to play the game, I'm like, "Oh no, they're gonna hate this part." So I would tell them to buy the Realm Reborn skip when they hit 50. Like, play the game normally, and when they get to that point, they should just skip it because
Okay.
time.
And it looks like they're back. So I don't know if you want to give
Okay.
that suggestion again or not.
Oh, it was basically just buy the Realm Reborn skip and you use it when you hit level 50, so you don't have to experience 200 quests of getting literally nothing for fetch quests.
Mm-hmm.
Not for me.
That was meant for there being something at the end game at that point, and they just overloaded people with that. And that's not. We don't need that transition anymore. So they're working to fix it, I think. But
Yeah, that's the worst part of the game right now currently, for me at least.
okay.
The Shiva fight made it worth it though.
Yeah, going through and seeing that. Was there anything else that stood out besides the Shiva fight, kind of while leveling up?
For 1 through 50 or just throughout the entire
Through all the
story?
way to the end game current.
Um, the Heaven's Sword story was, or was it Heaven's
It's
Sword?
Heaven's Ward. Heaven's Ward.
Heaven's Ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that story was good. Thoradin fight was really good. I feel like the last bosses of every like part expansion is like good. Like Thoradin was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and did EX with viewers, not minimum eye level though.
Oh.
And then the Tsukuyomi, the moon
Yeah,
girl,
yeah, 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 yeah.
that was that was good. I think I enjoyed Thoradin more
Yeah.
though, because I'm sure people have played other Final Fantasies I'm pretty sure like the knights were like in an older Final Fantasy. I'm not
Hmm.
exactly sure, but I'm sure those people like fucking lost it for that. And if I if I had that deja vu, I probably would have lost it too because that fight was sick.
Yeah, and they're probably going to bring it back in an ultimate. We assume in some way, if they keep the same path that they had before with the other ultimates and everything. It and some other extremes from Heaven's
Mhm.
Ward.
Yeah, and then for some other fights, I guess I guess all the way up to Shadowbringers, there's like a lot of good fights. The story, the biggest impact to me on the story is when I think her name was Tess Lane, the blonde girl. She gets she like has the power to cut them, and then she like gets screwed over. Like that left an image in my brain, like nightmare fuel right there.
Hmm. Yeah, I
And
was seeing her eyes kind of melt and or whatever was going on. Is that the one you're talking
yeah,
about? Yeah.
yeah, that was like because someone literally.
At least it gave you time to go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
All right,
I
let's
mean,
see.
if anything, you have it locally recorded.
Yeah, worst case scenario. As long as Zoom stays up too, right? Um,
Yeah.
all right. It looks like we're coming back and we're live. I apologize, guys. I don't know. I'm gonna have a lengthy conversation with my internet provider after the show today. Because I have no clue what's going on. They're trying to upgrade fiber in the neighborhood, I think, and so they're like pulling old stuff out. Hopefully they're not doing that right now. But all right, welcome back. We're talking about how we were all feeling bad for Tesla and how our eyes were bleeding out. And they did that actually really early in Shadowbringers. It wasn't something that they waited later to give you that shock impact. They wanted to introduce you to like this is going to be a dark expansion. Are you a big fan of kind of dark atmospheres like that?
It's more of the unexpected factor, and I think that's like a really important factor to have because when it's like the same linear, predictable story, it's boring. Maybe
Mhm.
not for the people that aren't used to reading or seeing or playing through stories, but for the people that that play a lot and they hit you with that curveball, it's like, wow, this is different. They really like make the story come alive that way because literally 2 minutes before someone in my chat was like, what the hell are you doing, why are you playing this kids game, and then that happened. I'm like, oh, I bet you're feeling pretty stupid right now.
Yeah,
A nice kids game, dude. Show your kids this.
yeah. And then you like immediately go into well, not immediately, but eventually you go to a dungeon right afterwards that you go and you have to kill her. It's
They
pretty
were
rough.
ruthless. They didn't even like. There's like no story around it. They just show you just kill her and that's it. Like
Hmm.
no nothing. They didn't give you any sadness or anything. It was just they just. I was like, wow, okay, shit.
Yeah. I hope they kind of aren't afraid to take those steps going into the future because I don't want it to be like that viewer was saying like a kids game or anything else. I want to feel like because most people who play MMOs right now I think are they're older, right? They're not like they're not young teenagers or anything.
Yeah, because you gotta if you gotta pay subscription, then you can't ask your parents to do it all the time, you know?
Right. I did back in the day. I was 12 playing MMOs, and I found ways to get my few bucks a month to pay for my subscriptions. But I think the free for game stuff is all targeted towards a younger audience right now because that's they don't have any money. They can still play. They can maybe swipe their parents' credit card and get like 10,000 cosmetic things for their character, right?
Yeah,
Um,
parents.
I like how you said that. Just parents. Uh,
Parents on the internet.
yeah.
It's really important. I mean, this is a whole nother thing, but it affects us as streamers when parents don't control their kids and they just go and say whatever the fuck they want, use their cards, buy whatever they want, harass people. Like, so I almost feel like you should take an IQ test to be allowed to go online sometimes. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's you know.
That's fair, dude. Absolutely fair. All right, I think this is a good time to like. We just had a minute break there for the downtime and everything, but we do have a little shitty Twitch Prime ad that I put together that I'll run for about 60 seconds, and then we'll do. We actually have a giveaway too, which is this stuff right here. It's little bean bags of various little characters in Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, I almost thought that was Toltoro for a second.
Yeah, it looks kind of like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, is a chocobo.
A Moogle.
Moogle. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I like that.
But it's going to be for U.S. residents only. Just to let you guys know, I don't have the money to ship out past U.S. or want to deal with customs in that way at all. So give us a second, guys. We'll be right back, and we'll go into viewer questions as well. So if you have viewer questions, this is the time to ask them. All right. We are back, guys. And fill out that form, that Google form for questions, and I'll try to ask those here in just a little bit. And yeah, Renault said she'll send you some if you want to. You just gotta, she'll send you a message if you really want those.
Okay. Yeah, Renault. I don't really use Facebook, so I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
My PO box is like legitimate, but I'll message you back about that after this.
Okay. All right. So here is a question I'll ask when it was kind of asked around this time. No, I'm not gonna ask that one. Let me. Here we go. No, this is pretty bad too. Well, I guess I don't know. We have a lot of people in the community who are really memey, so you're gonna get some memey questions here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Who is the best girl in Final Fantasy 14?
I mean, I wanted to say Iceheart, but she's dead.
Okay.
I need like a list.
You need a list? Okay. Okay. If someone they're just saying names out there in chat. Man, some of these questions.
Estola, I mean, she's okay. Lise, I mean, that's kind of a Chris Hansen emote right there. I hate Minfilia. I actually hate Philly because of 1 through 50. I liked Yuguri at one point, but she did something dumb, so I stopped liking her. She's okay. And then I liked she became like Lena or something, the one in Stormblood.
Oh yeah.
I liked her before she started talking. I didn't.
Oh my
and
god.
I hated her too.
Lise, that was Lise.
Yeah, I did not. I could have went without. Maybe if her voice was in Japanese, I would have been okay. I'm trying to find. I guess Yuri is the only one that I can think of that's like okay.
Okay. I think that's good enough. I mean, if you think of another one that you're like, oh, I have to. This is one. you can you can say it.
I
But
mean, I guess Yotsuyu is pretty good, but she's like evil and she's also dead. So yeah. I don't know, it's kind of an awkward question.
yeah, exactly. That's what we do
I
here.
mean, people that like her is like, I mean, I could go into why, but I don't know if I should talk about that on stream.
Well, I mean, we're an MA rated show, so I mean, you can do whatever you want. But I mean, we might want to avoid it if it's gonna get too
Yeah, I mean, I guess Yuguri or Tsuyu.
okay.
That's
Fair.
I guess.
I'm gonna do the giveaway here so people can type this in chat. And I just for your interest in Shiva, we're gonna make the word Shiva in chat. So if you type Shiva, you get entered into the giveaway, and then we'll work with that here and just after a few more questions. And again, U.S. only. If you don't have a U.S. address when you if you don't have a U.S. address when I talk to you later, I won't be able to ship it to you. Just keep that in mind. All right. So, other question that we have here for you. Well, I mean, this is kind of interesting because you didn't really deal with this exactly the same. Because you did have some friends starting out playing with you when you were playing it. Do you have any recommendations for people getting into Final Fantasy XIV that don't have friends playing on the same realm with them? Do you feel like it could be enjoyed without starting out with some of your friends?
Well, let me put it this way. I only played because my friends were playing, but I didn't even get to really play with my friends. Like we did like maybe like 5 leveling roulettes and maybe like a couple of EX stuff and Savage stuff. So unless you're leveling together, it doesn't matter if you're playing with your friends. If your friends like, hey dude, get max level, come play with me. By the time you get max level, it's very highly likely they might even ditch you. So when you're playing with friends, make sure that it's someone that you're actually leveling with and actually playing with. But for if you're not, um, there's from what I see is like a pretty big community. A lot of people say it's hard to find friends to play with, but the truth is, it's not like you can't make friends. You're just not interested in the other people that are also looking for friends. There's tons of people that are like, oh, I don't have friends,
Mm-hmm.
and there's other people like that too that could easily become friends, but it's like, oh, I don't really like them. It's you can choose like I I mean I was an introvert. I'm still an introvert throughout high school, where I would just go home, play games, and I make friends with people that were online, like without being Dyrus. It was just people that enjoyed the same games, the communities. Like you can find people to. So I guess my suggestion is if I really cared about making friends, when you're leveling, if you see people in dungeons that are like, I don't know, make small talk, or you see people when you're running around when you're leveling, you can make small talk to people, or maybe you get to an end game raid and you're like, oh, you did good, nice, we did this together. You could add them. There's like 2 people on Primal that don't know who I am that I befriended because they did good, and we like got through this hard experience of Eden 1. We suffered through Eden 1 for like 4 hours, and we finally did it. And we're
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, nice, good job, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I can agree with you on that too. Like I started this game because I wanted to play with friends. Not a single one of those efforts still plays this game, dude. It's everyone I'm friends with in the game right now are people I met in Final Fantasy. So it can happen. You just have to talk and get into free companies or something and talk to people there.
there's tons of people that are friendly but just don't are shy. I
Yeah.
mean, I understand. I'm the same way, but now I have to differentiate if they want to talk to me because of uh who I am, or if it's because they just regularly talking. So I mean,
Mhm. I got you.
It's easier than people think. I guess if you have like an anxiety barrier, then that's different. But like if you don't, it's just your motive. If you have the motivation to do it, then you can just do it.
All right. And just to remind you guys all again, if you haven't entered in, type in Shiva in the chat. If you have a U.S. address for me to ship this over to, and I'll get it in there. We'll draw that here in just a couple of minutes. This is a question. I don't know if you are too into it or not, but they're asking if you're ever going to get into the world race scene for clearing some fights or not.
I have a good thing to say. It's like when you ask someone, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" You could have used that time just asking the question.
Okay.
Or if you're trying to talk to someone, you're worried about annoying them. You're only worried about annoying them because you care too much about their feelings. And a lot of people get treated like shit because they care too much and they're just desperate. But the truth is, like, if they do that, then they're not even, you just go find someone else, you know?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that was the follow up from the last question, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I saw someone in chat say that, and I wanted to make sure that it was heard. That's all.
That's fair. That's fair. But to go back here with this other question, are you ever interested in, like, as soon as a fight comes out, to be one of the first people to clear it, or you think you'll ever get into that kind of community?
Um, if they're releasing Shiva, then yeah, I'll be right on that. If they tell me they're releasing Shiva Ultimate or Shiva Next Tier Savage, I'll be right on that. I'll drop everything I'm doing, actually try to cap out weekly tomes. I'll tell everyone that I'm playing with, I need this gear right now. I need this gear. You know, I'll pay you back, but I need this now. You know, if it's Shiva, yeah, sure. Ifrit, yeah, but anything else, I'm just probably gonna be casually. I'm just doing it slowly because if I go too hard, then you just burn out.
Yeah. So, and I want to follow that up real quick and just say, so basically with Final Fantasy 14, you're going to approach it with trying to be good in some way at all, just enjoying it casually though. Like, you're not going to push yourself and kill yourself, but you're still just going to just play it.
I'm just gonna pursue the fun parts and try to, you know, if it's fun for me, then I can make it fun for other people. That's the original thought process when I first started playing streaming in general. Is just if I can help other people have fun, then I'm having fun too.
Okay. And I guess this is kind of a follow up in the different aspect that we talked about here with PvP and everything. Do you think that if they change up PvP in a way that maybe you'd enjoy it, that you'll start going for it pretty seriously and try to compete with that at all?
That would depend how fun it is. If
Okay.
it's fun, then I'm gonna do it. And then the other factor is, are they gonna host tournaments with money? Are they gonna fly people out? Or
Right.
is is there gonna be like these weekly, daily things? They're gonna reward people for being good at it.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, golden game, gear, exclusive glamour. You tell people that we're gonna give exclusive glamour to the best players. Oh man. Popularity is going up, glamour's endgame. You're
They've
gonna see
done
all
that.
these you're gonna see all these people being like, oh my god, I need this. I need to look good. In
Okay.
Limsa no Loha, whatever the fuck that place is called.
Libs of Monosia. I can't even say it properly.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
never say half of the things right.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know.
I don't say it.
Yeah,
Every show, someone comments on, like, the YouTube or something else afterwards, like, Frosty, how do you not know how to pronounce half the shit that you talk about? And it's just, I don't think about it. I just read it, and then it comes out. I don't think about how I'm supposed to pronounce it after I read it.
yeah. For the longest time, I thought it was just called Limbs Aloha. And I don't know. It's like a. I also played the game called Granado Espada, or Sword of the New World,
Hmm.
and Atlantic Online. They have like names similar to some of the towns. I feel like
Yeah.
just words, MMO words.
Yeah. All right, I think I can go ahead and do a pull for the giveaway real quick. Let's just go ahead and do that to knock it out. Do a draw. Halloweeners. Halloweeners. Right there, dude. If you're in chat, just say you're in chat, tag me or whatever so I can see that you're there. Okay, he's in chat. And I'll get with you after the show. So I'll try Twitch chat first to see if it works, and if not, then contact me on Twitter so we can get that worked out for you. Congratulations, by the way. All right, some more questions here before we wrap up the show. And if you guys have any last minute questions you want to get in, make sure you use this form here because I can't really read chat and collect questions because it moves too fast sometimes. Okay, we already talked about your favorite encounter, so we don't really need to talk about that too much. Have you had anyone, I guess this is kind of a question. You said you had people come into your group from stream and help you with stuff. Have you had anyone come into your group and try to purposely wipe you?
I was doing trials for Titan hard, like level 30 Titan,
Mm-hmm.
and someone rescued me into the landslide. And I jokingly, well, I was very offended and unhappy, so I had to report this person kind of mood, you know?
Okay.
And I don't know what happened to them. I didn't get any messages, so
Huh?
yeah. I and a couple of people, I mean, I guess it wasn't wiping me, but I got whispers from some people saying I was a bad player and
Mhm.
said some mean things, and I was like, "Oh no, my feelings are so hurt. I'm gonna report this guy. Dear honored GM of the game, this person hurt my feelings." And then I don't know what happened to that guy either.
I
Didn't whisper
mean,
back, so I don't know.
people have been banned for it before, just harassing people in the game, and a GM's like, "Hey, look, this guy was an asshole. All right, well, suspension for a couple of days." But people don't really talk in game as much anymore, and they don't really say it. They go to Discord and they talk most of the time. So, but if it's said in game, they can be pretty good about it. All right. So this question, I was really long. I'm gonna read it. Hopefully, it's not a bad question. If it is, by the time I'm done reading it, I'm sorry. You have two characters, and you seem to be splitting activities between them. This comes with the drawback of having to collect things on each character, like mounts, exclusive gear, Garo stuff. Is there a character you want to specifically focus on, or do you not care as much about the collectibles in the game?
I don't really care. So it was on Primal because of my friends were on Primal, but they all transferred to Aether. But I'm keeping it on Primal because there's the people that gave me gear, the people that are on Primal that helped me with Primal stuff. I didn't want to transfer that one.
Mm-hmm.
And Party Finder is kind of fun. I enjoy doing Party Finder like regularly, being able to clear it without a static and
Mm-hmm.
just rolling for gear and praying that you get the gear.
Yeah.
I have my weapon on my gunbreaker from Party Finder.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Aether, it was just doing like the BLM deep Party Finder until I got a static.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost feel like it would be good to have more characters so I could like help people clear their two chests, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I like I like being able to help people. It's kind of like so let's say someone I know that's a friend or someone in chat or a sub is like, I need help clearing this. Then I could like go on an alt and try to help them do it. Are you
Mm-hmm.
lagging? Are you lagging out? Is that
It just it now just like 2 seconds like as soon as you asked that. Although like Zoom is good right now, so it could be Twitch on this time.
yeah, I think it's your net because
Oh, was
your
I? Oh, you
screen
okay? I gotcha.
yeah, your screen freezes, so I'm pretty sure it's the fiber thing. But it was
Yeah,
just for a second. It might be back because you're
yeah,
not lagging now.
yeah. Half people are saying we're back, so it should be good now. So you were saying that you were doing it because you like helping people kind of get their clear and do stuff like that. I think that's actually one of the things that a lot of streamers. It's one of the most enjoyable things. Like you could do parse runs over and over and over and over again, but if you go and you're trying to get someone to clear, it feels really good when you kill the fight, right?
It's like so in Diablo 3, there's this thing where there's like Paragon levels,
Mhm.
and you have to grind to get up there. Just through the story and get them to like near your level, like you just help them up, and it just feels good.
Mhm.
The only bad thing is you get, instead of slow progression, you get really fast progression. So it means less, but for the people that have tried really hard to do it, like it's more meaningful. For example, my first clears where I spent 4 hours on Party Finder, it's like, yes, we finally did it. But the next week is like, oh, I already know the fight.
Mhm.
But someone else could get that enjoyment, you can help
Yeah.
them through it.
Right. All right. And I'd agree with that too. I used to, when I was playing all the time, like pretty much every day, I would just put a party finder up and I'd say this is a clear party or this is a learning party or something. And no intention of like beating it or clearing it. I just want to get in and try to help people clear a fight because it felt good in the end. But
Yeah, the other day I made a E2 learning party and just it was off stream. I just linked to Discord and I helped people learn the mechanics.
yeah. All right. So, I think, and stream's good right now, but, and again, I apologize for being shit for some reason right now, but, let's ask just maybe one or two more questions and we can wrap up here. This is a question. They're asking what my favorite anime was, but, I'm going to make this a two-part question if you don't mind. I'm going to tell you what mine is and you can judge me afterwards if
Okay.
you'd like. So my favorite anime, and it's lasted for a very long time, and it's typical because everybody says this. If you don't watch a lot of anime, maybe you look at it and be like, oh, this guy's a noob anime watcher or whatever. But Cowboy Bebop, English dub, was one of my first introductions into anime, and it's still in the top for me.
That's a classic.
Yeah. I haven't found another one that I'm like, I really like this anime because I'm the kind of person that likes watching it and kind of seeing like the story behind it and everything else. And I'm not a big person on like I guess the fan service stuff. But
hmm
I mean I know it's a lot of people love it and is what it is. But if you wouldn't mind if you could tell everybody maybe what your favorite anime was. I know it's kind of a weird question, but
Oh, I was gonna say I have like a recommendation for you if you like Cowboy
sure.
Bebop, but uh yeah, that's like the age of like Trigun and Yu Yu
Yeah.
Hakusho and all the Toonami
Toonami, yeah.
animes. Yeah, that was a good time. I guess my favorite anime currently. So I like a lot of different animes, but it just so happens my favorites like vary. Like at one point it was Clannad, and then recently it became. A lot of people are gonna say that did not like it, but I actually like Fairy Tale a lot because
Okay.
it's actually had a lot of moments where it's made me like tear up. And how I judge whether an anime is good for me or not is if it like actually emotionally affects me.
Hmm.
And I understand why people don't like it, but it just, I just judge it by if it emotionally moves me or not.
Yeah. Um and I could kind of
I already know people are gonna be like, "What the hell?"
no, it's good. It's good. No, a lot of people are with you on it, man. I think with new MMOs, like not MMOs, sorry, new animes, I haven't found a lot that I've been really into. Of course, like we could talk about Hero Academia and everything. That's One Punch Man. These things are pretty good, and they feel
Uh,
solid.
they're top tier.
Yeah. But outside of that, I still go back to the old ones and watching movies like Akira, or like what was the Firefly one, Grave of Fireflies.
The
Yeah.
movie. That's the movie.
That's
Yeah.
the cry movie. That's the movie you just watch it and you feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I figured that was a good question to ask to at least have that in here one time. Let's see. All right. I think that's good. I think there's another question in here, but it doesn't feel good to end on. I mean, we could ask it. Um, I already said it, so we're gonna do it anyways. So starting out for the first time after kind of playing it a good bit, if someone else is trying to get into this for their first time, since you just went through it recently, what is the job that you would recommend to them to play?
In Final Fantasy.
Well, maybe not job, role.
Um, I mean, it depends on what kind of person you are in MMOs, and you don't really know until you play. So I would suggest, if you're saying beginner role, I would probably start with either an easy melee DPS or like an easier melee DPS, like either Samurai or Dragoon, or a ranged like Bard.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for like easy characters and generals, in general, I guess Warrior is a good start for tank, and White Mage is a good start for healer.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, you have to start White Mage for healer. Like you don't. There's.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You just commit to one role. Like healers have the responsibility of DPS and healing and making sure the party doesn't do dumb stuff, but you can't really control that. And tanks is just paying attention to the big damage from the boss and then DPSing.
Mm-hmm. It just really
But
depends on what you want to do in the game, I
yeah,
guess, right?
yeah. But like some DPS is just like you do the DPS mechanics, you just do rotations. So you have less responsibility, but I guess it really depends on the fight.
Mm-hmm.
because I can say DPS is easy because all you do is press your DPS rotation, but there's some fights where DPS gets certain responsibilities where it's just like, oh, this is this is scary because they don't have tank privilege, or they don't have the, like, if you're a healer and you mess up, it's like, oh, I can just heal myself. They
Mm-hmm.
have to like rely on the other people if they do mess up. So
Yeah.
yeah, to each its own.
All right. All right. Okay. We can probably wrap up around here, and I appreciate you coming on the show today. It's been awesome to have you on and kind of learn your opinions and thoughts on Final Fantasy XIV, because we don't often get that. Where we can bring someone in who's starting it for the first time and getting their reactions to what the game is right now. Because a lot of people who watch the Final Fantasy XIV podcast have been playing it for quite a long time, and so they don't get to see that perspective. And there's a lot of other bits and pieces that we learned today, and I think that's pretty awesome. So thank you again, Dyrus.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Before we get off, of course, I always want to make sure you have a moment to kind of say any last words you want to say, and then do any shout outs you want to do, and anything else. Is there anything else you want to say here at the end of the show?
Not really. Thanks for having me, and hope everyone has a good day.
Oh, okay. That's simple enough, man. Guys, if for some reason you don't need to know, Dyrus's Twitch handle is Dyrus, so please go follow him if for some reason you're watching this show and you haven't followed him, and then you can go watch some of his content, especially there's a lot more that you do besides Final Fantasy XIV that they may want to watch. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do want to put a special thanks out to the people who helped the show out with the artwork that we use on the show. Blizana, the person who lets me use that intro theme in the beginning and the closing of the show, the Final Fantasy VII battle music, which is Andre Kane. And Kiara, my wife, background emotional support for everything. And of course, all the viewers who came to watch today and support. That being said, we will be live next week, exact same time, hopefully with a better internet connection. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Be good to each other. Keep cool and, all that good stuff. See you guys.
Bye.
All right, here we go.